Welcome to Into the Cypher State, everyone, the premier public broadcast of Galactica Network. My handle is Citizen42 within the Cypher State, but you can call me Dave. And today I'm joined by my regular co-host Cosmos Hoss and some very special guests. Now, before we start, it's very important to remember that both myself and Cosmos Hoss, and indeed any team members that join us on the panel, we are your guides to navigating the Cypher State, but we are not your financial advisors. We are, like our guests' opinions are also their own, and nothing said in this space constitutes financial or investment advice. So please don't ask for any. We're not going to give it. So now we have that out of the way. Let's go around the table and introduce ourselves. We've got some amazing guests on today, so I'm really looking forward to this space. Hoss, could you just introduce yourself, mate, and we'll go around the table.
Yeah, as always, Cosmos Hoss here. I'm excited, as always, to talk shop, and I've been in this space since COVID. So, I mean, I'm just here all day, every day, you know, just spreading the IBC gospel, the crypto gospel, and most importantly, like just I believe in freedom and privacy and compliance and everything else. And I think the space is getting to that spot, you know, like it's a crazy space. We go up and down, even with the just the worldwide view of things. And I think over the next couple of years, everything's going to work out in our favor. So that's me. Nice to be here. Honored to be here. I hope everyone's having a great day, and pass the mic over to Simon.
Hey crew, it's Simon. I'm a co-founder of Eclipse Fi, which is a launch platform on the Say and Cosmos network. And yeah, I've been in the space since 2016, so I've seen the my fair share of roller coasters in this time. And it's good to be on a space. I used to do a lot of these. Was building on the Terra ecosystem and used to do a lot of spaces, but it's a little bit quieter. So, you know, my good friend who's at Galactica invited me, and yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Happy to have you, Simon. Really good to have you on. Let's go to Landslide, who's playing the profile today.
Hi guys, I'm Nathan, co-founder of Landslide. We're bringing IBC to Avalanche, so that means Galactica can communicate to Avalanche. That means Eclipse can communicate to Avalanche, and it means Darren at Penumbra. It means Penumbra can communicate there too. I'll send the mic to Darren.
Hey folks, this is Darren from Penumbra Labs. I work on business and operations there. Penumbra Labs is a core contributor to the Penumbra project, which is a ZK proof of stake layer 1. It's a Tendermint chain, and the key feature of Penumbra is the native DEX. So you can privately make shielded transfers and shielded swaps on Penumbra of any IBC asset, I guess I'll add.
Now that sounds useful. Okay, we also have on our panel today, we have our technical lead for Galactica Network, AStar. How you doing, man?
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here in the Twitter space. And for everyone who doesn't know me yet, I'm Frederick. I'm happy to be part of the Galactica development team, working on smart contracts, zero knowledge proof, and the wallet integration. And yeah, happy to be here, having a great time.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Always good to have you up, dude. Get those technical questions answered when they come up. All right, guys. So once again, please just make sure if you're listening, thank you for a start. If you can make sure that you both check the comments and give us a like and a retweet on the space, that'd be great. Really helpful and get the space out to more people. If you could also check the pinned tweet at the very top on the Jumbotron, you'll find the link to our Cypher State campaign. So now with all of that out of the way and with our guests introduced, let's move on to the first segment of our podcast, which is the just news discussion, the latest news, the hottest topics in the space, trying to keep everyone and our listeners informed. So yeah, let's go on. The first thing that's actually come up in the space, guys, is the Swiss National Bank. So the Swiss National Bank is actually set to issue a wholesale CBDC on Switzerland. I think it's an exchange called SIX. So according to the chairman of the SNB, this isn't like actually just an experiment, but it's actually going to involve real money equivalents on bank reserves. So the aim is to like test actual real transactions with CBDCs. Obviously, it being a wholesale CBDC, it's actually institutions only, essentially. So a lot of countries have this dual system where you have an institutional CBDC and you have a retail CBDC. How you interpret that, I'll leave that to you guys. But Hoss, what do you think of this one, man?
Yeah, I heard about that, and also they're talking about it being transparent and private too. So we'll see about the private part, but I mean, it's just a matter of time. I don't know if like the entire world will have it, but I do believe it'll be an integral part of crypto in the future. So, like there's all kind of people working on different CBDCs and things of that nature. I don't know about America. I know like it's getting a lot of backlash, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, in my opinion, it could move the space forward drastically, and it also can really damage it as well. So we would all be naive to think that world governments aren't going to want their piece of the action or supplant their place in this. I don't know why I said cement their place in this space, but yeah, it's hard to really gauge like their honesty about it. I think it could be really dangerous if someone could just like click a button and just essentially you're not allowed to buy anything or do anything with the funds that you already had. So we'll see. But that's what Bitcoin's for and other things like that too. So we'll see.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I'm not entirely convinced on the privacy part. I'll tell you what. I think what would be nice is if our guest speakers, if we could get your opinions, like just I don't know, like a 1 minute kind of your just general opinion on CBDCs. That would actually really help set the stage for later. If anyone's willing, maybe we can start with Simon.
Well, I'm still in two minds about this and how it's going to roll out regarding CBDCs. I'm obviously at heart very much like a decentralization and sovereignty kind of maxi, but then at the same time, it's like, is that really going to be the path towards adoption in the crypto space? So, and yeah, maybe the route towards maybe there is a good route with CBDCs towards like wider adoption, but I'm still kind of piecing it together. I'd say in my mind, I'm more against CBDCs in general.
Okay, cool. That's a completely fair opinion, man. Nathan, man, what do you reckon on this? What's your basic opinion on CBDCs?
CBDCs are they're an economic security for a state at this point, right? You guys have to think about it as if China already has the head start and is already rolling out their CBDC for all of the countries that they trade with. And so it's like through their Belt and Roads initiative. So when we talk about CBDCs, it's also like you're sort of saying economic sovereignty of a nation. So it's great that that Switzerland is doing this. Like I fully support it. Number is not going to go up unless we have institutional investors, and they require KYC, and they require a certain level of counterparty risk. So this is good news.
100%. Frederick, maybe you can go.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting that you're trying it out. And I think in general, CBDCs make sense from the standpoint of the central banks and what they're trying to achieve. But I think if it's good or bad depends a lot on how it's actually implemented and what goals they are trying to achieve. Yeah, but about this specific one by Switzerland, I think it's quite cool. The last 5 years, I actually lived in Switzerland, and I think they were always quite good on the crypto front, trying out different things, and that they're experimenting with it is nice, and I hope they learn the right lessons from it, and that maybe it makes sense to not only have institutional investors, but let's see what happens. And I think it's in this stage still an experiment, and if it doesn't go well, they might also shut it down again. It's like similar how they did it with the test of electronic voting. That was also cancelled then later at some point. Let's see.
Yeah, 100%. There's an awful lot of routes where it goes wrong. Darren, my friend, how are you doing, man? And what do you reckon? Just a basic take on CBDCs.
I don't have like a strong opinion on CBDCs. I think like in general, the idea of CBDCs seem fine and in some ways seem inevitable. Just the way our worlds are becoming more and more digital, like CBDCs seem like a natural way that will kind of intermingle. As for like immediate trends, I think we'll see different CBDCs like kind of be launched with different types of pilots with different levels of success and different like parameters. So kind of just like what one might expect. It's like there's no straightforward like answer whether a CBDC will take off, and there will be like a lot more iteration over the next decade.
No, you see, this is very interesting. There's normally at least one person on the panel who is vehemently against. It's like Firebrand, who just desperately doesn't want CBDCs to exist. I was expecting that at some point, but no, it's actually very strong takes, very intelligent takes, and basically are taking a very pragmatic approach to them, which is good, very good. Okay, guys. So thank you for that. So, like I say, I just thought that getting your basic opinions out in the open now would kind of set the stage for later, which is very helpful. Thank you. So I just want to move on to the next item of news that we had come up. In fact, I'll kind of do this in two parts because they're both kind of the same thing. And this huge glut of ETFs that are appearing, like applications for ETFs that are appearing. So Hong Kong. To start with, so HSBC, which is the largest bank in Hong Kong, it's also active all over the world, started like permitting its clients to trade in Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. So that's pretty huge for Asia and the Asian market, and allows, like as you've been saying, guys, it just allows those like institutional investors to actually get into the market. And we also have on the American side, we have Fidelity. Fidelity is huge entity, huge institution, and they're submitting a filing for a spot Bitcoin ETF. So it's absolutely massive. And last week, or a couple of weeks ago, I think it was BlackRock. We got all sorts of people just suddenly. I don't know what the sea change is that's allowed all these people to suddenly start wanting to submit their applications for ETFs, but they're going. Harsh, you have your hand up, mate, please.
Yeah, as long as it's spot. I mean, spot is the one that moves the needle because they actually have to own it. You know what I mean? So like, I know what is it, Fidelity? They're the ones that did spot, or was that Black? I can't remember. It was Fidelity that did they're requesting for spot ETF.
Black and Fidelity have requested spot. Definitely Fidelity. I'll have to check on BlackRock, but I think it's spot.
Yeah, spots. That's where it's at because they actually have to physically own, the Bitcoin, so people can buy it off of them and do all that. So once that's a big thing, then that's when that's when stuff can really start to blast off. But it all depends on what type of ETF it is. But spots where it's at. That's good news.
Yeah, 100%. Like anyone who actually has an opinion on this, please just freely just speak, because like, what do you think the effect of all this? Do you think that these institutions know something, and that's why they're starting to actually apply at this point in time, all at the same time?
Yeah, man, the fix is in.
I was in Hong Kong a couple months ago now, and I actually got to meet some people that worked in institutional banking and things over there, and all of them seemed very keen to get into crypto and into crypto space, and I think they've been wanting to for a fair while, and they found like a track of momentum to get in the space. So I guess everyone's jumping on the bandwagon. I don't exactly know why. Obviously, with the halving coming up and all this sort of stuff, it's probably the best time for them to get in that they've ever had. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the institutions seem to want to get into it, and yeah, here's the opportunity.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like my curiosity is that we have all these, like especially in the US, with the obvious obstructive regulatory kind of regime that we have in the form of the SEC in the US. Why everyone, like all these massive institutions, the Fidelities and BlackRocks of the world, are suddenly applying to the SEC for these big spot Bitcoin ETFs. And I just feel like someone knows something somewhere. That's all.
They play a different game as well, right? And I mean, if you're wanting to, like, if you're a big player wanting to get in, you'd probably want to get in when the maximum pressures applied of these the SEC suing everyone and doing all this sort of stuff. It's probably a pretty good time to start buying.
Yeah, for sure. Always do the opposite. And it's they definitely know something. And a lot of times institutional, well, not a lot, most of the times they don't want to be the first. So it's already been kind of battle tested, and it's still surviving. It's it's moving forward, and people are just undeterred. Like there's a lot of people that own Bitcoin, and more and more countries are starting to get a little bit of it, and it's just a matter of time. So I do firmly believe that it will just be like an asset class and somewhere for people to harvest and hold their funds, regardless of your geographical region. So I think a lot of people are starting to see that, and that's just what it is. And they're eventually going to get into it. I mean, I don't know what the timetable is when it's like when foreign sovereign funds, when they start to get into it, then that's when the real big money starts to come in, because all it takes is one of these like really big funds to be like, oh, we're just going to buy 1%. That's it doesn't sound like a lot, but when they have trillions of dollars in their assets, then that's a pretty good number to have when they start to buy up some stuff. And that's the kind of my thought process on the whole Bitcoin ordeal.
Yeah, and I guess it all, just like we've been discussing, kind of depends on how it's implemented, doesn't it? Just as Frederick was saying, actually. I just want to take this opportunity, guys, because we actually have a very famous man in the listener panel today. This is a guy who has actually reached the Ghosts in the Chain, which is a very special rank in Discord. Send the Slayer. Shout out to you, man. Thank you very much for coming. For anyone who doesn't know, the ranks. Thank you, Oz. For anyone who doesn't know, the ranks in our Discord, we've got 6 of them so far that are linked to the Zealy campaign, which is the Cypher State campaign. So if you want to learn anything about that, you just check out the pinned tweet at the top of the space. All you need to do is join Discord, start going through like the quests in Zealy, and you can start earning a lot of various rewards as you rank up. All the way up to actually getting a Galactica Network Citizenship Passport in the very earliest of distribution waves, thereby maximizing your rewards by being early. So it's a very valuable program to try and get into. So I would suggest you just click on that pin tweet if you're interested in that. And we could always use more people talking in Discord. We've got loads of interesting conversation going on in there at the moment, and loads of questions. We're getting so much value from that. So yeah, if nothing else, then join the Discord. We're happy to have you.
I'm actually curious. Just like one question for me is, what was your biggest learning? Oh. So you got to be reverb there. What was your biggest learning lesson when building, I guess, the Cypher State program, which is a form of ambassador program in general? What was your biggest learning and all that? Because we built an ambassador program, and then our socials actually went crazy, and a lot of it started kind of breaking, if you like. It was a lot of learnings of building this program, and then actually seeing it implemented. And when the numbers got high, it was very hard to determine like the ranks and a few different things. So yeah, just real quick, I'd love to hear what your biggest learning and takeaway was, like building an ambassador program.
Very interesting question, Simon. Thank you. I think one of our biggest takeaways is that you can't make anything too easy. We found this previously, that you need some form of civil resistance in various places for a start, to make sure you just don't get a bunch of people who are not interested in the project but taking part. We need true value at the end, and at every stage of the program, so that people feel like they actually want to progress through it. And you can't make it too inaccessible through civil resistance that people don't want to turn up. So it's kind of a fine balancing act, I would say. And we think we've got a pretty good balancing act with the campaign that we've put on so far. So hopefully, the campaign's only actually been active for the last 2 weeks, I think. So hopefully people are finding it okay. If you are actually on the Cypher State campaign right now, I would love to see a comment in the Twitter comments or in the Discord on how you're doing, on how you feel like the Cypher State campaign is going for you. If you think there's any pain points or if there's any friction anywhere, we'd be absolutely thrilled with any feedback you give us. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I could tell you, Simon.
How did you handle? I mean, obviously this is a deeper question and I have to dig into it more. But how did you handle the the rank ups? Because as you kind of, in terms of if you're looking at scale, right? It's okay when you got dozens or maybe coming through, but when you start having 800 applications, for example, to get to the next stage, or various things, how did you handle that progression of who helps who ranks up A to B and who ranks up B to C, right? And who does the reviewing and all that sort of stuff? I'm just curious. I'll dig in a little bit later and read more of it, but I'm just curious from a high level.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I completely understand the curiosity. So we're not actually at the stage where we're dealing with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applications at the moment, to be honest. We are still very early as far as the actual numbers in our Discord. But as far as having that scalability built in, we feel like I said, it's that making it difficult enough that people who that it's really the people who care that will decide to rank up. And the people who understand, who are educated on the actual benefits of what we're offering in the rewards. I think that's the kind of way to truly scale an ambassador program, because you really want the people who are really you want ambassadors exactly in the name. You want people who care. You want people who are interested in the protocol, who want to be actually educated in the protocol, and people who want to proliferate that education that you give them or that they learn themselves to the wider audience. So that's basically what an ambassador is, and as you correctly identified, the Cypher State campaign is kind of trying to identify those people.
I was going to say too, to add to that, so I have a lot of experience with Zealy, and I don't know who's reviewing or if you have certain tasks that need to be reviewed, but you can kind of tell, if you actually take your time and look, if you see a lot of the same things going on, that's kind of a red flag for people. I've been a part of a couple where I actually had to review things and essentially had to ban people because they were just trying to cheat, and you could just tell who wants to be a part of it and who doesn't want to be a part of it, especially when you make the task a little bit more challenging and more oriented, actually have to put in some work to do the specific task as opposed to just something super simple. But I do agree, it's a really fine line. It's a fine balance that you have to kind of tread to keep people engaged and productive, but also kind of weed out the people that you can kind of tell that don't want to be there, and they have no intentions of really trying to be a part of the project. So it's it's definitely a challenge. I mean, but it's a lot of work. I can tell you that. If you're actually putting out the task or the quest and sprints and whatnot, you have to definitely, kind of check everything thoroughly to make sure that someone's not just copying and pasting or all kind of little things that I've seen. I was a part of a project where we just asked the people to play a game, so to speak, and then put the their final picture on there, and then I'm reviewing them, and it was a race game, and 10 people had the same exact final number down to the millisecond. It's yeah, that's basically impossible. So basically, you just banned all of them. You know what I mean? Because they're just cheating. So it's just kind of, it is what it is. But anyways, I regress.
I guess it's the load of handling those submissions and stuff too. We always battled with this thing of okay, well, if we leave it up to the higher ranks to rank up the people below, or to quality check and do all this sort of stuff, is there an element where there's bias or helping their friends level up or things like that? I guess it depends on the quality as well of your program, but it was interesting to think about scale beyond this of okay, when you do have hundreds of people ranking up, how do you vet the people? How do you set, what's the bar set for, yeah, you can rank up and you can't? It's always a bit funny and sometimes a bit subjective. So it's interesting.
Yeah, 100%, man. It really is. Frederick, you have your hand up, please.
Yeah. Yeah. What I would like to add is also this perspective of a dev, because I, as a developer, get a lot of value out of the Discord system and the Cypher State campaign. Not in terms of learning how this ranking system works, but rather because the interaction of the community with us is incentivized by a bit. I have the feeling that there's a lot more feedback where I can learn from. So, for example, I learn about what topics people are interested in. And I was, for example, surprised that more people were interested in social recovery wallets than I was expecting. Or another thing is the learning on how we should improve explaining the tech behind Galactica, because there's actually a lot of complicated tech on it, and we have a couple articles, but seeing where people actually struggle to understand it is quite valuable for us to explain it better in the future. And the last thing I would like to add is also a bit of an outlook, because I'm actually also very interested in how it develops in the future. When we move from the current system, where we have it kind of off-chain in Discord and Zealy, to a system that is on-chain, and then also using all the systems we put in place in Galactica with zero knowledge documents and reputation. So I'm quite excited for that.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about our system in particular is a very unique case. Is that obviously we have Discord, we have a Zealy campaign, and we are adding Sybil resistance at various levels of that. But once we go to mainnet, or once we get to testnet even, there will be the ability to have like social dApps, like social media apps and this kind of thing, and DAOs and governance systems that you just have not seen on chain before. Straight up, you just not have seen these kind of things on chain before, because you don't have just the financial element of having like the most tokens wins on the votes in various different formats and ways. But you also have Sybil resistance and reputation on chain as well, and that is that just cuts out all the multi-account spamming of DAOs. It cuts down on so much stuff, so much chaff that stops governance being real and stops like the social element on blockchain being real. That everything that we're doing right now for our ambassadors, for our Cypher State campaign, and for our like earlier citizens, that's basically like the first drop in the bucket compared to what we'll be doing on chain. So yeah, Simon, I hope that helps. Right. Okay. So what I think we'll do, I'll just give everyone a quick reminder, if we can. Everyone who's listening, thank you for joining us. You are listening to Into the Cypher State. This is the broadcast that we do on a Tuesday. We do a second broadcast on a Friday, which is called the Galactica Callcast. So if you want to become like a member of our community, or if you want to just basically get more involved in like the Galactica talk and more of the the technical side of Galactica and ask questions, that kind of thing, then the Friday space is for you. This space is for us to talk to our wonderful panelists about just about everything, either from Galactica, from their own protocols, to the latest news in the space and like the hottest topics. So yeah, if you could give us a like and a retweet on this piece, I'd be very appreciative of that. And if you want to check out Galactica, then check out the pinned comment where you can join our Cypher State campaign. And I thoroughly recommend that you go through our speaker panel and check out their own profiles and see what they're doing, because we only invite up people who we find interesting and valuable to the space. And these guys are all that. So check them out, give them a like, give them a follow, and yeah, show some love. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we'll just move on to, I think, the second part of our space, if everyone's up for that. And it kind of moves on to one of the reasons why I asked about your stance on CBDCs earlier. But I think what we'll do to start with, because we have Darren and we have Simon and we have Nathan on, I'm just going to actually ask you guys if you could just give a brief rundown on your protocols. So if you're willing, of course, but perhaps we can start with Darren this time. If you could give us like I realize you introduced yourselves at the beginning, but maybe just a pitch kind of thing for your protocol, and then we'll move on after that.
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned, Penumbra is like three main things. It's one is ZK proof of stake layer 1. It's a Tendermint based kind of like kind of Zcash style blockchain, but proof of stake. What assets can you transfer shielded on our chain? Any IBC asset that's deposited into Penumbra becomes shielded by default. And so, we have like an understanding of what we think is robust privacy, and we want to maintain that across the shielded pool. What else can you do besides shielded transfers? You can also make shielded swaps on our native DEX. So those are the three main components. And I guess the real kind of like fundamental underpinning of Penumbra is like, how do we bring privacy into, how do we have a theory of change of like making privacy have a use case that doesn't require someone to be like, oh, I want privacy, right? Like, how do we build an application that's as good as the transparent or non-private versions, but also be private and also have additional value and utility to that privacy? And that's where we landed on trading and building a DEX as kind of the first milestone for Penumbra, because when you're trading, there's essentially like an information game or market that's occurring, and so if you can preserve your alpha, if you can maintain discretion over what information is disclosed during a trade, in theory there's like significant value that's like inherent to that property for that privacy, rather than just being like, hey, we're a privacy enthusiast, which hopefully you are as well, but that may not be like the selling point to like a mainstream user. So that's Penumbra in a nutshell.
That's really cool, man. I just wanted to like say it's really cool what you guys are building, because we chatted. Been having a lot of chats with Delphi about this fairly recently, that order books and dexes won't get proper adoption from traders and market makers and stuff until they have privacy features, not from a protect my identity or this sort of stuff, but more from the perspective of like traders don't want to see everybody seeing their trades and their wallets and everything like that. The same goes with market makers. It makes sense. You'd want at least some privacy in your trading. So yeah, that's sick.
Yeah, I mean, I always say that. That's what I've been saying for a long time. It's one of the reasons why when I first got into this space, my background's in accounting and finances, and I was like, this isn't going to be adopted because there's no competitive edge. You give it away in blockchain because it is so transparent. So it's like your competitors are like, oh yeah, he's buying this and he's doing this, instantaneously. All you need is the wallet address. So it's definitely one of the multiple ways we need to adopt and evolve and to get this space to move forward is having some sort of privacy by default for trading, really, because it's just not cool. Like if I was a hedge fund and I have whatever a couple $1 billion under management, and I'm like, I'm gonna go into crypto, and everyone can just see every transaction. That's cool. Like you can show it still at the end of the quarter to your your holders, like, hey, this is what we did. Just like right now, they always do a quarterly report. It could be the same thing in this space too. And so it's really cool. We need people to build out that tooling because that's the only way real money is going to get in here, because it's really competitive. That's a really competitive arena. So for people to be able to just copy instantly, it's just not sustainable whatsoever. So that's good stuff right there.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Privacy is 100% needed in this space, and this is one of the reasons why Galactica came up. Well, then we didn't come up with it, but why we're so focused on the concept of compliant privacy and having that on chain at the base layer of the protocol. I won't get into that now, but couldn't agree with you more, Darren. Simon, you may as well go with yours, please.
Yeah, awesome. So we're building a launch pad for Say and Cosmos, and it's slightly differently with the way that we've kind of approached things. So, being in the space for a long time, we've seen a lot of pain points around, go-to-market, liquidity bootstrapping, and token launches in general. There's been multiple different types of mechanisms. There's been, the traditional IDO route, which hasn't really gotten kind of the adoption. A lot of it still stayed in CoinList and Binance Launchpad. And interesting enough, we actually, and this has got me interested with Galactica. we placed in the Delphi hackathon. We were building out, on-chain KYC launch platform that uses ZK proofs. But the concept is actually building a modular launch platform that utilizes the ability to customize launches to different platforms. So we've taken different launch modules, some that were like developed by Delphi back on Terra and various modules. And the idea is offering platforms, multiple choices for their launch. So, integrating like liquid auctions, which is like the new name for liquidity bootstrapping pools, liquidity bootstrapping auctions, which is slightly different to the LBPs, lock drops, and Dutch auctions, and various other forms of mechanisms, and basically enabling projects to go, okay, well, maybe your DEX or maybe your money market, and your token launch is so much more than just launching a token. You want to attract new TVL and community. So being able for a platform to utilize lock drops and utilize various mechanisms without having to go and build it all themselves. So that's kind of, I guess, from a technological perspective is what we're implementing. But kind of at a deeper level, it's like really looking at the sustainability of launches and all the things that go around it. Being in the space for a little while, and I believe you guys kind of have that background as well from launch platforms. We see a lot of the same kind of focuses on a lot of shorter term gains as opposed to longer term, value building. So we've really worked really hard to create really strong deal flow sources and aligning in the right areas to attract high quality projects, and start focusing on long term as opposed to this game of low float flipping and focusing on 2-month games as opposed to 3-year games. So yeah, that's a little bit. I know it's just kind of a tiny bit of Eclipse, but we're building some cool stuff.
Honestly, it's amazing. I looked at your site, and it's you align really well, actually, frankly, with Galactica, and I think I'm actually really excited for the kind of DeFi that we'll be capable of having on the chain, because with the concept of compliant privacy present, you can have. And not to mention reputation on chain. There's so many ways that you can have. You can eat your cake, and you can have your cake and eat it. You can have your privacy. You can also have KYC and AML. You can have reputation gated liquidity pools. You can have all sorts of stuff that just isn't possible on other chains. And I think it's super exciting to see the kind of stuff that will get built out. So I'm super. If you want to get involved in our DevNet, and if you want to get involved in just in general in partnership, we're going to be chatting. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. One thing that you mentioned there is really cool, because a lot of my time spent thinking more about go to markets and distributions for platforms, right? And we've dug a lot into the reputational side, and that's really interesting and exciting because in Web3 it's harder to target, right? If you're looking at a marketing perspective in Web2, you've got Facebook, and you're able to kind of target a specific user. And whereas in Web3, it's obviously you've got a lot more advantages, like tokens as a utility for bootstrapping and incentivizing users. But it's harder to target. So you might have airdrops or specific mechanisms, but you're not necessarily reaching the right users. And you saw this with launchpads as well, right? You end up attracting a lot of users that are flippers, right? So it's how do you create this, this move in the direction of aligning, the people with the project and picking good users and doing it in the right way. So bringing all this stuff's really important. And I think it's going to play a really important part in how we improve go-to-markets for platforms, which is essentially the goal. It's not launching a token. It's not raising funds necessarily. It's how do you help a platform go from cold start to actually having a running track for success, and getting into the market and having effective distribution, and maybe decentralizing or adopting new users and community members. So very excited to see how that plays out.
Oh shit! Sorry, I'm actually on. I'm not sure if you can actually hear me or not right now. My button's playing up.
I can hear you loud and clear.
You can? Oh, fake. Oh, great. So yeah, I agree, and we need it's actually really interesting the way that I've seen an awful lot of communities bootstrapping, projects bootstrapping their communities these days. The meta seems to be for in a very centralized manner for the project team to like identify their key players in their community and build their initial community in a very targeted and very centralized way, and then use those those identified good actors to spread the word and to build an organic, decentralized community. So that's like the current way of doing it. But obviously with reputation and with privacy and with compliant capable transactions, it's just makes it a hell of a lot easier to do it on chain rather than having to go through these centralized hoops to like identify your community. Nathan, you please, if you could go through Landslide, that would be great. I'd love to hear more about it.
Sure. So we're one layer below everybody here. So we're basically bridgers and relayers. So the way that the Cosmos stack talks to each other is via IBC, and IBC has mostly been separated to Cosmos in particular. So Composable is building Polkadot to Cosmos relayers and a virtual machine. So they'll allow Polkadot and Cosmos chains to interoperate via IBC. And if you don't know what IBC is, sort of Mr. Rogers' explanation is that it's the largest open source bridge that has secured the most amount of volume in crypto without being hacked. And the reason you want things open source is that so everyone can read how the code is built and can make security updates in case bugs are found. And so what that means, so Galactica is mostly focused on Cosmos users because that's where their chain lies, but we'll be able to take the Galactica stack, basically duplicate it, and it can run with Avalanche users. Same could be said for any of the other the protocols up here. So that means like if Eclipse wants to be on Avalanche, that's a out of the box type integration.
Looks like Dave just dropped out, but this sounds really nice. I really like the way of connecting more blockchains together to actually create these synergies between different projects.
Well, yeah, what's going to happen is, I mean, if you take a look at Cosmos Haas pinned this to his profile, but Uniswap evaluated bridges for expansion, right? And so their choice right now is Axelar and Wormhole. Those are the two that passed them. They didn't evaluate IBC, but that's because the IBC isn't really live on ETH. That will change over time. And what that means is that like Aave can have native Cosmos assets on it, or the other way around, that Cosmos can have Aave assets.
Yeah, which is huge. Like like you said, like that's why honestly, when I first found out about Cosmos and how it operates and works, that's why I devoted so much time, because I truly believe in it. I think IBC is just the way it's going to be, and all these other things right now are just kind of temporary solutions to kind of, get us to that, I want to call it finish line or whatever. But that's kind of my vision. And I'm really bullish on IBC. I mean, it works. I mean, we've been so battle tested. When the Luna and UST crashed, there were so many transactions from like Terra to Osmosis, and it all worked, and it's battle tested. There's been 0 IBC hacks, and it is what it is. Like these other things, like as much as I really like Axelar, obviously, because I think it's really good, it's still like when it comes to all these different non-compatible IBC chains, like I think that, like you said, Ethereum and all that's going to change over time.
Hey guys, my apologies. I have been listening on the phone, but I got rugged on this account, and I'm sorry. Landslide, sorry, Nathan, that was great, and I think we've actually had a really cool chat before on one of the previous spaces some time ago, about maybe kind of exporting reputation using IBC, and all these insanely cool use cases that are going to come about through like collaboration between protocols like ours. Like I'm looking forward to the kind of future we can build with this kind of thing. Yeah, you just keep doing what you're doing, man. Okay, so what we'll just do, we're at the top of the hour. We're near it. So what I'm just going to say is, if everyone who's listening, thank you very much for listening. If you could just jump into the comments below, give us a like and a retweet. That would be really, really appreciated. If you have a question, you're more than welcome to just post a comment. I'd also like to invite you at this stage, if you are interested in any of what we're talking about, if you're interested in any of the amazing people that we've got up on the stage today, you can also request to speak at this point. We'll invite you up as long as you pass very rigorous bot checks, and we'll be more than happy to speak and answer questions live. For the time being, I think if you want to request to speak, please do so. Now, I think what we'll just do is we'll go on to just a couple of topics that I would love to get out, because we have some really really intelligent guys up here and really intelligent speakers. And first is about basically Aztec. So I'm sure everyone up here is aware of Aztec, privacy focused protocol. Aztec Labs is the entity. So they've actually given a response recently to the Bank of England's consultation about the digital pound, basically the UK CBDC, basically they offer, for anyone who doesn't know, Aztec kind of offers transaction privacy, ZKPs, that kind of thing, in a similar kind of vein, I guess. The similar kind of goals to Penumbra, maybe, Darren. There used to be like 100% privacy maxis, and even they, as these 100% privacy maxis are now moving towards this, okay, we kind of need to include some sort of compliance layer, so that we can actually get institutional players playing ball. So they're it's one of these things where, again, this ability to have this trade-off that is current in the blockchain industry between privacy and compliance comes back into play. I'm just wondering, basically, how do you see the future of how do you see CBDCs and the decentralized the decentralized community of blockchain playing ball with each other in the future? So that's pretty much the base question. I guess I'll throw it to maybe Nathan. Maybe you can go first this time. What do you think?
I followed Aztec since they started their basically their incentivized testnet. They're a brilliant team. There's always going to be space for the craziest nutter privacy focused bunker dweller that you could possibly find, but I think we've run out of them. If the market is going to get adopted, we need to have some negotiation on that point.
100%. I completely agree. We need to have it for anyone who isn't someone who lives in their basement with their pot of gold to take part. But I also
just as a follow up to the U.S. congressional hearing on crypto a couple weeks ago, they were really concerned about stopping terrorism, and it is so hard to do that on chain. If you look at the way that most militaries are funded, it's with cash, right? It is not crypto.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And in fact, something that there was a BlackRock executive who was quoted, I think it was actually this week, basically saying that, every institution wants to buy into crypto, every one of them. But
that's because there's no other game in town, right? What other casino can they go into?
Yeah, with the kind of percentages that we see here, yeah. The issue right there is, the only issue for them is, I guess, liquidity and compliance. Those are the only two things that are stopping them, in any meaningful in a meaningful way, and they bring the liquidity. So it's just the compliance. And this guy was actually stated as saying, we go to jail if we don't know who we're trading with. End of, done. So they're kind of frustrated, I think, at this point, like the big institutional players.
Yep.
So what about like frameworks? Like, does anyone have any ideas on like what it might look like? Because we actually had a discussion on this. I think it was actually last week, but on our other show, on the Friday show, about the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, has basically come out saying they want to have a unified approach to blockchain and CBDC. So that basically everything plugs into this this unified chain, and everything becomes interoperable with CBDCs, with blockchain, everything. I think maybe Frederick, maybe you can explain that better than I can, because I'm not the most technical guy.
I think it was the Bank of International Settlements, not the IMF.
That's right. Sorry. Yes, completely wrong.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I think it's really great that also players like AStar are coming out and interacting with these governmental organizations, because I think AStar is really a great pioneer of the zero knowledge technology, and also the right advisor who can tell the institutions what tech they actually need to get from a kind of CBDC that has potential for dystopian things like there's a surveillance, to an actually much more useful system that many people can rely on, that has privacy built in. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's going to vary region by region, of course, but like some of the implementations, at least some of the early implementations that we've seen of CBDCs, the word dystopian doesn't even cut it. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. These guys are like some countries are basically saying your entire identity, your entire financial entire financial existence is now under our control. Which is crazy to me. And then obviously, there's an institutional version of the CBDC for government players and for institutions to take part in, which the public can't see, which is an awesome situation. And yeah. So maybe Darren, what do you think of the interaction between CBDC, blockchain, and maybe TradFi?
I guess I gave this take on, was it Thursday or Friday? But my general outlook in the medium to long term is that, yes, there will be more regulated and KYC'd DeFi. But I think there will also be, equally growing and flourishing DeFi that is kind of analogous to what we have today, which is, more code is law. Things are hacked all the time, and it's kind of the survival of the fittest. And I don't see those two paradigms really going away. I think that they will just continue to operate, but the overall ecosystem will grow considerably. Whether or not CBDCs will cross over into the quote unquote, unregulated DeFi Wild West world, that's like more unclear. It depends on how the CBDC will be implemented, I think. But in general, those are the two scenarios that I see are pretty likely. And yeah, I don't see a lot of these things as necessarily contradictory. I think that they will both exist, just in different ways.
Yeah, honestly, I agree. And I kind of see the decentralized Wild West becoming pretty much the same proportion as it is now to TradFi, just basically everything on chain. So assuming that 90% of TradFi ends up on chain at some point in the distant future, you end up with a kind of similar kind of proportion as you have now to decentralization maxis, and people who just want to use the system and take advantage of the benefits of the system. Yeah, I guess. So what do you
Yeah, I
think?
think that's fair. Like, for example, like I think the term shadow bank kind of came in vogue for a while, right? And it's like, to what extent was like shadow banking, um, you know, much larger than the quote unquote non-shadow bank, right? There will always be like different types of activities that, not that like shadow bank doesn't necessarily connote that it's sinister, but just that it's outside of the traditional paradigm of banking, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like it's same kind of thing as dark web. It's not all. Some people just want to be private. Some people don't want you to know everything that's going on. Yeah. So Simon, I don't know if you have an opinion about this, or Hoss, depending on whoever wants to go first.
It's kind of funky though, because like despite like crypto being very much, I mean, a lot of anons and decentralization maxis and etc. Like there was a pretty big like wide acceptance of like USDC and that kind of stuff within the space, even in OG like ETH. So it's kind of interesting to see. Like there's obviously going to be always this niche that's going to push more in the opposite direction. But like, how much are there Trojan horses? Like the liquidity that comes from having USDC is obviously like, and even DAI, right, went heavily USDC based. So it's interesting how things, obviously there's people that have privacy or like the decentralization as a first touch point, but also there's the liquidity, and money does make some changes to that too.
Of course, and eventually it becomes a question of practicality and pragmatism. If you want to have like something that's pegged to a real world asset, you need some kind of link to TradFi. You have to, right?
Yeah, on ramps and off ramps and all this sort of stuff. So it'll be interesting. Like, I mean, we kind of see it, when someone, I think it was Nathan mentioning, with the kind of nutters have gone, and I'm like, I kind of think of it more like the hardcore Bitcoin maxi guys that are still around. There'll be kind of this underground kind of niche, but it depends. Like if you're building and you want liquidity, it's going to kind of be a funky choice of like, either you get really, really good in that, I guess, a non-decentralized space and cut through and capture the liquidity that's there, or you have to go to the more regulated space where you can get liquidity and etc. So yeah, it'll be interesting. But obviously, I love the ZK stuff where it's compliant but private, as we've been mentioning, where you can still kind of handle KYC and AML and all this sort of stuff while all your transactions and stuff being private. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's truly exciting to me, and it's something that's near and dear to all of the Galactica team's hearts. Just this ability to, I think, especially zero knowledge, like just the speed at which zero knowledge, like cryptography, has improved over the last like 5 years. It's been absolutely crazy. And then you get you get papers that have come out like Vitalik's last year. He did Decentralized Society, Finding Web3 Soul, the paper that kind of more about soulbound tokens, that kind of thing. There was a lot more in there than just soulbound tokens. There was all the reputational aspects, and there were some things that alluded to decentralized society, which is another whole topic, and one of the founding pillars of Galactica Network, the concept of decentralized society. Eventually we will have this ability where it will just, society and decentralized society will kind of just be intermingled. There'll be, there won't even be a need for the decentralized moniker at some point. It's just people at the end of the day. It's just like a blockchain will end up being an extension of society, and I'm looking forward to it, and especially I'm really looking forward to it, assuming that pragmatism and sense wins out, and you end up with protocols that allow you to retain some form of privacy, autonomy, and self-sovereignty. That's one of the main goals of Galactica, is allowing you to be compliant while maintaining that level of privacy and self-sovereignty. You don't want to have to give away all your information with every transaction, but you also want to be able to have access to decentralization and liquidity and the ability to trade as you wish. So I think trying to find that balance is exactly the goal of what we're doing right now. Yeah, so thank you, Simon. Yeah, absolutely. I think we're kind of we've gone past the top of the hour, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I think what I like to do, I just want to invite anyone who has any questions to do so in the comments. Hoss, I don't know if you want to check the comments if you find any that are particularly worth mentioning on space. And if you would like to jump up and just speak for, I think we'll probably go on for another 10 minutes or something like that. But if you'd like to come up and give your opinions on the speaker panel, you're more than welcome to put your hand up. But for the time being, I think what we'll do is, let's see here, seconds. Yeah, I think we've actually got send down in the comments. I think he's just saying that people like become somewhat less organic in their expression when they're when I think it's apparently my ability to read at the 11 o'clock in the evening is mitigated. Sorry.
He's basically talking about like the incentivization driving different types of behavior within the ambassador program, which, we've experienced this a lot, right? I mean, in our ambassador program, I'd say it's still fairly small, but we've got maybe 600 ambassadors and maybe 100,000 on Discord. So we've kind of seen a little bit of that point of like breaking of I think like you're always going to get both. Like you're not just going to get like the high quality users, but the more the community grows, the more you get that. Like we're seeing a lot more like leaders stepping up. So I guess that the whole goal is through the rank ups and the ambassador system is to actually find those leaders and have those leaders be able to step up, and I guess creating the framework for the people that either are leaders or are wanting to kind of develop that leadership to kind of break through the ranks. But you're going to get all shades of quality. Like you're going to get a lot of people that are trying to game the ranks, right? I think that's just normal. But it's just having a system that makes sure that the strongest leaders that aren't the gamers, break through.
Yeah, 100%. And I genuinely think that that requires part of the ranking up system to be, well, part of it, I mean, probably most of it to be educational in nature. That's how you get people who both care and who can help with the proliferation of information, is you make sure that they're properly educated. So, stuff like getting people to answer a question that might have been posed on a space, or just that's both, proof of them being there and it's proof of them paying attention. That kind of task, maybe like a more generalized question from a previous article or something like that. Just stuff that means that they genuinely care about the protocol and that they're invested. It's the alignment of incentives.
Yeah, I mean that's not always. I guess there's a lot of. I mean, we're seeing this a lot at the moment with the airdrop campaigns that are around. There's a lot of people who are, in all the different groups to essentially farm the airdrops or the ambassador programs, and they have like systemization behind their interactions. Maybe they jump on spaces or they kind of have this routine, which you're going to get this anyway. But I guess it's trying to find those. I guess you go kind of through the numbers to try and find those leaders that are like that are contributing at an even deeper level. I mean, it's 5 a.m., so my brain's not really like processing it too well. But yeah, it's a funky balance, I think, and it's just making sure that I think what we saw from other ambassador programs, it was with ranking up, it's very hard to kind of gauge. It can be a subjective thing. It's like, how do you determine someone's value add to a community from level 3 to level 4, right? Maybe is it based on number of invites? Is it based on their Zealy activity? Is it based on this? Which isn't always a great like gauge for if someone's bringing value to the community. And so we've been working on this and trying to figure out the best ways of like how can we map out the person that is the dot connect, the glue in the community that's adding value in so many other ways. They add potentially the same or more value than someone who's just inviting a lot of people in. So it's kind of funky.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that's kind of two problems, isn't it? It's not just I think identifying those people is as long as you have decent community managers, it's okay. It's not too bad identifying like the people who are objectively valuable. It's more subjectively valuable. It's more finding the ones that are objectively valuable in like a statistical way through a campaign like Zili. That is a tough thing. I completely agree. In fact, we have Sen the Slayer. Welcome, man. This is one of our guys who's managed to get through to level 2 of our campaign. How you doing?
Hey, good man. And it's 3 a.m. It's always 3 a.m. for me as well when these Twitter spaces go. So my mind's not exactly super smooth. And I'm also in India at the moment, and it's always having monsoon at this time as well. I don't know if you can hear it in the background. Massive rains.
Yeah, I can just about hear that in the background there. Yeah, sounds lovely.
Yeah, I'll try and keep it short then. Yeah, super appreciate Simon coming on as well. I've same as Cosmo Hoss. I've been part of lots of NFT spaces over the last year and a half, and just gone through a lot of cycles of this kind of stuff happening, and just starting to see patterns. And it's early days, so I didn't really want to push too much about how the team's going to manage some of the things Simon's brought up. But I always think it's so hard when there's monetary incentive, as well as when your objectives are clearly stated onto how one should get said monetary incentive as well. I certainly don't have a clear answer to how to find that nice balance between finding, like you said, value, organic value, and how to weed out the people who are just kind of goal in sight. I guess it takes me back to the days when you got, I'm a massive gamer, and you've got MMORPGs where there wasn't any financial incentive in anything, but you just got a solid community who truly is passionate about the game. And then now you've got so many Web3 games that have NFT mints, and no one's really there for the game. There's no game yet for most of them. So you got that big contrast. And obviously, I'm sure Cosmo Hoss has seen as well. There's just so much, there's so much of the opposite that you see in all of these projects that are coming out these days in terms of organic engagement and participation. I guess don't have an answer, but very keen to forge on and see how to do it best, just like everyone else here.
Yeah, well, as well, like this, faceted program that, is based on a few existing ones, and it looked good on paper before the numbers started blowing up. And then when the Discord went when the Discord went bananas, it was like very apparent that like it's very much systems. Even within this system, there's so many systems that have to be tweaked as you go and figured out. Like, and luckily enough, built enough strong community that have been there for a while that people actually stepped up from the community and helped to build those rank up systems. And they're not perfect by any means, but they're, it's pretty incredible to see what some of our, community leaders have built within the community. And if anything, that is the leaders that you have stepping up. Like we had a whole group of people just go, how can I help? Or, there's some pain points here. With the rank ups, this is what we're noticing. Let's help. And, they get together and create a working group and, put together like multi-party review systems and all sorts of like crazy things, which is a step, maybe it's too far in the opposite direction of like making it like unscalable, but in some elements you're learning because there's different approaches being tried. And if anything, like if you build enough vision and you build enough community, like those leaders will step up and really like want to contribute because they want to be a part of something, but they want to add value and they want to feel useful. And they want to see the community grow and be healthy. So they'll jump in and they'll help out where they can. And I guess with iterations, you find the right systems to like balance this incentive versus gaming. I mean, we Ambassador has rewards, but we haven't clearly stated anyway what the amounts are, how they're going to be, any sort of stuff. And we still have a lot of really, really high quality community members that have stepped up and are helping. And, we're kind of at that point where we're having to define that or start to think about more exactly kind of what the rewards are, how do they come, what are the amounts, who do we incentivize? But that's something that we can work with the community on to find that balance.
Absolutely. And to be honest, like Sen, you're an ideal example, to be honest, mate. Obviously, you've taken part in the campaign. You obviously contribute greatly to our social presence. You do everything you can, and you're here at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I mean, you're either mad or you're interested in the protocol, or both. I'm not sure, but we're very glad to have you anyway. So yeah, I mean, it's identifying those people who genuinely care. It's so important, and I don't like I say, I'm genuinely looking forward to the point where we can get all this stuff on chain, because I'm looking forward to testing out Galactica's like reputational systems and all this stuff, and creating like some kind of absolutely insane ambassador DAO or something, just based on purely on social metrics. So that'd be something I'm looking forward to testing out and trying. Yeah, I don't know if you have any more technical input, Frederick, on anything we can try, but I'm happy to hear.
Yeah, I'm also quite excited for having it actually on-chain, because then I think there's a possibility to also have it in a decentralized way where multiple people can come up with systems how to measure reputation or contributions. And yeah, when you were talking about it, Simon, I was thinking a bit of, for example, trying out the PageRank algorithm. So how Google is ranking pages to show in your search could maybe also be transferred to how contribution is measured by how people are reacting on other people's posts and so on. And yeah, I hope that when we open up the system, that maybe the community is also developing some reputation functions, and then we can see and look at the decentralized system on what metric is then emerging from it.
I think you need like a mixture of tech and human reviews of some sort, or human input, because how do you gauge like the contributors, like the sends who are up at 3 a.m, who are, maybe they're digging into a complex document and, creating a system that isn't like a Zeely task or something that's, you know what I mean? Like these community members and leaders that is very hard to gauge from just numbers and systems and etc.
Yeah, that's why I want to see this on chain, specifically why I want to see it on Galactica, because we will have these these Sybil resistant reputation based like DAOs. You don't have to and by having that, you don't just have you have DAOs that function properly because you have DAOs with governance that works properly. It is humans, it is people. Like the social element is the just society as a whole who can govern and choose the people who are valuable in a decentralized, fair, and meritocratic way. That's generally speaking, that's why we want to do all this stuff at the protocol level. Like we've seen so many projects doing like pieces of what we're doing, chunks of it, pieces of the puzzle everywhere, as layer 2 solutions, as smart contracts, there's all sorts of just pieces. But we need this kind of like holistic system that is at the protocol level, and that's pretty much the reason why Galactica exists, is to try and actually get people represented on chain, governing people, and bringing real value to people on without having the issues of Sybil attacks and just multiple accounts and token gated everything, just trying to get this into a bit of a better state while maintaining your privacy and having the ability to be compliant. It's a bit of a tall order, to be fair, now that I speak it out loud.
Well, I agree. I always thought that Galactica was aiming to be a more evolved form, not just of evolved form of Zeely or any of these other reputation kind of style platforms, but it's going to be more, but definitely a more evolved form of that, at least in the future, like you said, on chain, and imagining some kind of complex and nuanced way of measuring these things, and hopefully some of it's transparent and some of it's opaque in some way, so that it's not all just clearly stated and people are just robotically going through and ticking off our boxes as well. But early days, I guess.
100%. be as human as it can be. I mean, that's the whole point. There's no point in having society on chain if it isn't human.
Yeah.
Sorry, Frederick, you have your hand up, please, mate.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I completely agree that I think the potential is really huge for when social aspects can kind of merge with the blockchain to be used there. And to be honest, I also think it's quite a lot of work that still needs to be done to build not only the system of how you can do it in a private and compliant way, but also how to bring all the data that is needed on chain. For example, handling Discord or Zeely data in a decentralized blockchain is probably quite difficult. So either it needs to be a bridge or something, or you have to build a similar system that's blockchain based. Like I think there are also already kind of blockchain Twitter projects or blockchain chat projects and so on. And I hope that the kind of features and things we are providing with Galactica are the right thing to also enable this, so that when you, as a user, want to use a blockchain version of such a social system, that there's also the privacy aspects given by the knowledge technology that are needed to actually do it.
Hey guys, I might bounce. It's 5:30 in the morning. Yeah, so probably should get some sleep. But it's been a great spaces, guys. I really appreciate you guys inviting me on.
Yes,
You're
I'm
more than
sleep.
welcome. I'm surprised you're still here, to be fair. I'm very thankful you're still here. So so you get some good sleep, Simon. I really appreciate you.
Get
Just
some
everyone
sleep.
who's
Get some
listening,
sleep so
please.
you can chase the kangaroos tomorrow, right?
I'm not in Australia.
Oh
I
yeah,
live in,
you keep
I live in
moving around.
Bali. I live in Bali. I've been here
Okay.
for about a year now.
Okay. Well, I think you probably missed the kangaroos, but it's all good.
Nice. I've been there for a couple of years, man. It's enviable place to be.
Who are you to say there's no kangaroos in Bali? Anyway, so everyone who's listening, please check out Simon's profile, give him a follow because he's been absolutely fantastic tonight. He's provided some great insights, and most of this space, like obviously we're here to talk about Galactica Network, we're here to talk about the Hobbits topics, but we are here to educate. Like that's pretty much our main goal here, is to educate people, whether it's on about us or whether it's about everything else in the world. So Simon has really been contributing. So get on his profile, give him a follow. That's an order, everyone. Okay, with Simon popping off and actually finally getting some sleep, I think it's probably a good time to wind down the space. This has been absolutely an amazing one. We've had again some incredible takes, some great insights from our speakers. I've been super happy with this space. It's been great. And if you would like to have an opinion or question that you have that's just built up from this space, or from any that you'd like answered in the next one, well, you can just jump over to our Discord. There is an AMA questions like a channel in there. So feel free to just drop any questions you want in there. You can also drop them in the Twitter comments below, and we'll capture them from there as well. I'm more than happy to answer anything. So perhaps Hoss, Frederick, Sen, I'd just like to thank you very much for your participation as well, guys. It's been wonderful having you up again. I don't know if you guys want to just say a quick goodbye to everyone. Maybe Sen.
Yeah, just a real quick one. Love your spaces as always, and have a good night, everyone.
It's appreciated.
Yeah, likewise. I always like to end the conversation with thanking everyone that tuned in. Thanks everyone that listens to the recording, and keep learning, growing, and trying to be a better person every day. So take care, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much also from my side. Everyone who's listening, I think it's really great that you're here. Also thanks, Dave, again, great moderation of the space. I really love it. And yeah, see you all on Discord, Twitter, and the next Twitter space. Bye-bye.
100%, guys. Guys and gals, just make sure you join that Discord. That's the important part. We're trying to grow our community right now. We're very early indeed. Like we've only just started our DevNet. So if you're a dev in the audience, please just go to our website and check out the DevNet tab. So, you're super early. We'd just like to get our community bootstrapped. Like we're trying to get as much information and value out to you guys with these spaces as we can, as well as with the podcasts, with the YouTube channel, with just about everything we do. Just trying to add value back to our future citizens. That's the goal. So check out the pin tweet if you want to get involved. So you can join in on the Cypher State campaign. Join Discord, set yourself up with Zealy, and just get going. And one of the primary things that matters in the campaign is social contributions. So just talk, just chat with your fellow citizens, chat with people on Discord, and you'll get there. And you'll be, just by contributing socially, you'll have the opportunity to get in as early as you can be. You'll be as early as like our institutional and other partners, as far as like your level of your distribution wave for Galactica Network citizenship. So it's well worth checking out. Okay, guys, one final call. Please give the space a like and a retweet. It really helps the algorithm, and it also helps people get the recording. So I really appreciate that. And in general, please don't forget that you can come and join us on the Friday space as well, which is the more community focused space. So join us at the same time, 8 o'clock UTC on Friday for the Galactica Corecast. Finally, and as always, I would like to thank you for joining us, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Into the Cypher State. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.